Mom, how can I tell her that? Well, just think about it. Maybe I should tell her, since your heart is in your heels. Emma sat down in front of her son. David, let's be logical. Angela's not going to get better. Her whole family's like that. They died early. You know what I'm talking about. You know all about it. And she has some unknown disease. So many doctors are examining her, and they can't find the cause. God forbid she infects you, and you have such prospects ahead of you. Don't be a fool. A woman like that has her eye on you. David slammed his hand on the table. Mom, she's my boss, that's one. And she's 10 years older. If not more, that's two. Emma slammed the table too. So, what if she's older? You've got to think about the future. You'll never be even a small boss, because everyone went to university and you were too lazy to get up in the morning. Do you need me to remind you how much money I spent on gifts to keep you from being kicked out of university? David lowered his head. Mom, what am I going to tell her? You know, it's a two-person apartment. And anyway, don't be an idiot, pretend you care about her health. She has a house in the country somewhere, right? Take her there. Tell her what the doctor said, and then it's up to you. She won't come back, she'll die quicker there. That's not human. Emma laughed. So, it's okay to take mistresses home while Angela's in the hospital. Sitting on her ass for 5 years, that's fine. And now all of a sudden you have a conscience. David lowered his head. He was used to living his life in a way that made him feel good. First, he was happy with his mom. Then he was happy with Angela. But Angela had failed him. She was sick all of a sudden, all the time. She stopped giving David the attention he deserved. Stop dusting him off. David just had to seek solace on the side, and of course he blamed Angela for it. I don't know if I'll succeed. Emma looked at her son in silence, and David nodded. Okay, I'll do it all. The mother nodded contentedly. Think about it. She'll die quickly without medication. And if not quickly, at least she won't tie your hands, and you'll be able to get on with your life. David decided not to postpone the conversation. That evening, David arrived home on time. Angela, I'm home. His wife came out of the room like a ghost. He looked at her. Well, how are you? Same old David. I walk a meter and I'm tired. I can't believe I'm being punished like this. David smiled cheerfully. Angela, I've been talking to smart people, and they all say you need to get some air in the country. Somewhere where everything is real, including the food. You have a house in the country, don't you? Angela sighed. I have grandfathers, but I haven't been there for 10 years. And then will I manage in the village? What do you want me to do? I'll go there and fix what I can. I'll take some time off. Then I'll come back every weekend. Well, when the work week's over, I'll come to you. And then I'll take a summer vacation. I'm sure the fresh air will do you good, Angela said uncertainly. How can I be there for a whole week without you? My God, are there no people there? Let's hire some woman to help. Angela couldn't resist for a long time. She just didn't have the strength. So the next day they started packing. David, you're packing so much? It's like you're taking me there for good. Don't be ridiculous. We're not carrying all this stuff in our arms. We're taking it in the car. So why don't we take enough so we don't need it later? Angela, of course, realized that her husband was probably right, but there was still some oppressive feeling, like when David had persuaded her to postpone the baby, to take pills, saying that she had to live for herself first. So, she did for 6 years, and then when she stopped, she never got pregnant. Maybe something changed in her body, maybe something else. But her mother-in-law, of course, more than once went over her saying that she was incomplete, an empty flower. Angela wanted a child very much, longed to look at other people's children, but could not do anything. And then she got sick. Or rather, she didn't have any illness, but she was getting weaker every day. Maybe she'd feel better in the village. The house didn't look very attractive because the once bright paint had peeled off almost completely, but inside it was dry and smelled of grass, just like it did when Angela had been here. How nice. David was immediately supportive. See, and we just got here. He went into town the next day. My mom called, she's sick. I have to go. David, what about me? Angela, well, you're not dying, and you'll be younger than your mom. David, when are you coming? Yeah, in just a few days. David didn't show up for a few days or a week. First, he just didn't pick up the phone, and then his phone became unavailable. Angela thought for a long time, and then decided to call her neighbor. Oh, Angela, I didn't want to tell you, but you'll find out anyway. He's not alone anymore. They're coming to see him. It seems to be serious because his mother, your mother-in-law, welcomes her very affectionately. Angela hung up the phone, closed her eyes. Why didn't she realize that she had been brought here for good? She lay there until evening. At first, she tried to think what to do. She didn't have much money with her, and only a couple weeks worth of medicine. While she was thinking, she was so tired, she fell asleep. When she woke up, it was getting dark outside, so it was almost night. Angela got up and slowly left the house. In the village, people go to bed early. No one will see her. When she reached the cliff, which was always above the river in this place, she was so tired that she couldn't even overcome the last meters. She sat down on the grass and put her arms around her head. God, why should I do this? And I can't end my life the way I want to. Angela sobbed and did not immediately hear that there was someone nearby. She raised her head in fright. A young man towered over her, looking mockingly at her. Probably her sweetheart threw her, or she broke a nail, or maybe she didn't like her haircut. Why did you decide to jump off a cliff? Why do you have to lie like that? Angela suddenly calmed down. Yes, I don't know why. She was hoping the man would leave, but he didn't seem to be in any hurry. He sat down next to her and said, "Come on, tell me, what must happen in a man to make him voluntarily?" Angela looked at him, but he was no longer smiling. He looked seriously, and so she wanted to cry. She talked, and he didn't interrupt. Angela had no idea who he was, where he came from, but she just wanted to talk. Yeah, well, come on, let's get up. Why? Angela looked at him fearfully. The man grinned. Don't you care? You were going to anyway? Don't worry, we'll go to my grandmother. She will tell us exactly what to do. Angela got up with difficulty, leaned on the hand she had given him and walked away. After a while she asked, "Where are we going?" "The village is over there." "Who told you that my grandmother lives in the village?" "The man managed to tell me that his name was Robert. He came for a vacation. But since his grandmother is very old, he is thinking about staying here to work. I can do it from here. I'm a programmer, so it's no problem." How old Robert's grandmother was, Angela couldn't tell even approximately. The house was not far from the village, behind the woods. Angela remembered how they had been frightened of that house when they were children, telling them not to go there, because a witch lived there. Oh, and it was scary to get close to the house, and then run away, so that the wind whistled in her ears. Her grandmother sat her down at the table and put a mug of tea. "Drink." Angela began to drink. The tea smelled of roses, herbs, something else. A pleasant warmth flowed through her body, and she was terribly sleepy. The last thing she remembered was her grandmother covering her with a plaid on the sofa and saying, "Rest. All strength comes in sleep." She woke up, sat up in bed. Oh, where am I? I remembered everything at once. "Well, how are you feeling?" "Fine, thanks." "That's good. Robert told me about you. Why didn't you leave them sooner?" "Why? Why? All your illnesses are because you were not needed there. There was no love around you, only strength drained from you. You'll see, you'll live in the village and you'll feel better soon." David frowned at his mother. "Mom, well, what am I supposed to do now?" Emma said irritably, "You'll be 40 soon, and all I have to do, Mom. But it was your idea to hook up with the boss. Now she's found a younger guy and fired me. Mom, I'm out of work now, and I have no money at all." Money. Yes, Mom, money. I got into debt while I was buying her presents. David sniffled resentfully, and Emma suddenly raised a finger in the air. Wait, how's your wife doing? I don't know. The doctor said she wouldn't last 6 months. Well, you're a fool. It's been a year. She's obviously already sick in there. We need to go and get a death certificate and inherit the estate. There's a house or something. We can sell it all. David's up. Mom, that's a good point. It's a decent house. You can get a good price for it. David didn't want to postpone the trip. His mother pulled out the last of her savings. You'll come. If they ask you anything, you'll say that she left on her own, that she didn't want to live with you. Well, you'll organize a wake, say that you didn't know what to do, but make a mournful expression on your face. David waved it off. I know everything, Mom. Like I'm 5 years old. Emma sighed. Sometimes I think I'm 3. David left the car at the beginning of the village. He wasn't really sure where he should go now, whether to the house where he had left Angela or straight to the village administration. He had to think about the right way. Probably better to the house he didn't know Angela was dead, and then the question would arise why he came. Then maybe the administration. What will he say there? That someone told him. First of all, who? And secondly, he doesn't even know when it happened. Yes, not a problem. While I was thinking, some grandpa came up to the car, looking for someone. Sweet man. David nodded. I'm looking. About a year ago, a sick woman came to your village. Her name was Angela. Well, we know her. She and Robert had this thing going on. Anyway, why don't you go over there to the club? They're opening tonight. David's eyes widened. Opening? Opening what? Well, they call it business now. In layman's terms, it's the opening of an herb shop. There's a lot of people coming in from out of town. You can't get through. It's a good business. Robert's grandmother's an herbalist, so they decided to share it with the people. I used to take Angela's tea for my stomach. I forgot my stomach was always bothering me. Grandpa, you must be confused. That Angela was really sick. She was? A lot of people get sick and then get well. I'm telling you, Angela can cure anybody now. David hit the gas. Stupid grandpa. Wow, it was really noisy outside the club. The cars were parked. Some sort of tents had been erected, each woman jars, and each jar had a piece of paper attached. David came out, looked around. So, what's his wife got to do with this? Gotta get to the house. He was about to get in the car when he saw Angela. Yes, it was his Angela, only not that transparent and tortured one, but all beautiful, energetic, cheerful. He took a step toward her. Angela. She stopped abruptly. So abruptly that a bearded man came at her from behind. He looked young, jeans, modern t-shirt, but he looked a little like a bear. David, I thought I was feeling sick all of a sudden. What are you doing here? Angela, I thought you were supposed to die. The man hit Angela behind his back a little too quickly. How's your husband doing? You brought her here to die, didn't you? You not like that? The man brought his face closer to him. I'd beat you up right now. But Angela can't be nervous. Pregnant women can't do a lot of things. Leave me your phone number. We'll go to town tomorrow to get a divorce. And don't you dare hide. David retreated, then quickly slipped into the car, and from there he shouted, Liar! You're all liars. I will not let you share the apartment. I won't give you anything. You still pay me to give me a divorce. He stormed off, and Angela sighed. Well, until he comes 3 times, we'll have a baby. Robert grinned. Don't worry, he'll come, and if he doesn't, I'll bring him. I hope you haven't forgotten your address. Angela sighed and pressed herself against him. No, I remember, but I wish I hadn't. After meeting David, Angela was a little upset. The memories of the past, which she had tried to forget, came back to her. But Robert supported her as best he could. He promised to deal with David and not let him ruin their lives. A couple days later, Robert drove into town to meet with David and his lawyer there. Negotiations were tough, with David trying to bargain for as much compensation for the divorce as possible. But Robert and his lawyer insisted on a fair division of property, given all the circumstances. In the end, Angela got a divorce and her share of the apartment. The money was enough for her and Robert to buy a small house in the country for their future family. A few more months passed. Angela and Robert's business with herbal teas and tinctures became quite successful. People from all over the area came to them for help. Angela felt happy and loved. And then came the long-awaited day their firstborn, a boy Lucas, was born. It was the happiest day of Angela's life. She dreamed of becoming a mom. A few days later, Robert's grandmother visited the young family. She examined her grandson and praised Angela for the strong, beautiful baby. Grandma blessed their union and gave a gift of an amulet for Lucas. "Let him grow up to be a hero," said the old woman. "And you, children, don't be discouraged. Happiness is in your hands. You deserve it." A year later, Lucas had a brother Oliver, and 2 years later, a little sister Evelyn. The house was filled with children's laughter and joy. Angela finally felt truly happy to be a mother with a loving family. Robert was happy, too. His business was growing, and he had enough money to live and raise his children. In the village, he was respected for his kind heart and hardworking hands. Of course, there were difficulties. For example, the kids were often sick. They had to live far away from the city and civilization. But Robert and Angela overcame all the hardships together, supporting each other. One day, Robert decided to expand the production of herbal remedies to supply pharmacies. He invested a lot of effort and money in this. Unfortunately, the business did not take off. The costs were too high, and the competition in the market is high. Robert was very worried that he had let his family down, but Angela supported him. She said that the main thing was their children and love, and business is just business. It is not worth risking the peace of mind for the sake of it. Then Robert decided to return to programming. His old connections helped him to get a job in an IT company, where he could work remotely. Now Robert became the main breadwinner in the family with his good salary. Angela continued practicing herbs, but only for the soul and for the treatment of relatives. The children grew up healthy and cheerful. Angela and Robert had a hard time, but they did not regret the path they had chosen. A happy family, loyal friends, and the respect of others. That's their reward for all the hardships. And David never had children of his own. He was abandoned by another mistress. When she realized that the man is only able to use other people's kindness for his own purposes. His mother soon died, and David found himself all alone. Sometimes he thought about how his fate would have turned out if he had made other decisions in life. But it was too late to regret and look for a way back. Angela found real female happiness and did not regret anything. After all, the main thing she has is the love of her husband and children. And all other hardships are only tests that can be overcome if you go through life hand in hand with your loved ones. Ahead of Angela and Robert had many more years of life together, filled with joy and anxiety. The children grew up. Lucas was already 15 years old. He graduated from school with a gold medal and left to enter the capital's university. Angela was very worried about her son. She was worried about how he would cope alone in a big city. But Lucas turned out to be very independent and purposeful. He studied very well. His parents were proud of him. A year later, Oliver passed the exams just as successfully and followed his brother to the university. Angela and Robert's house was empty, but they were not discouraged. Their sons often visited their relatives. Evelyn, who had grown up, decided to follow in her mother's footsteps. She entered medical school to specialize in medicine. The girl dreamed of helping people, using healing herbs and the secrets of folk medicine. Her parents did not object. Let everyone choose their own way. After a few more years in the house again sounded children's laughter, Evelyn married and gave birth to 2 daughters. Now Angela and Robert enjoyed the role of loving grandparents. Every summer the house was filled with homo and fun. The grandchildren came to vacation by the river. Angela was happy. Of course, they had their share of hard trials. For example, a few years ago Robert suffered a heart attack. He had to undergo surgery, take medication, and follow a diet. There were moments when Angela thought she was losing her beloved husband. But Robert was a fighter. He recovered and returned to a full life with his family. Angela realized then how much she was attached to this courageous and compassionate man, and how lucky she was to have met him then by the river. And now Angela was 65 years old and Robert was 68. Of course, their health was no longer the same. They had some aches and pains and moping. But in general, they still had a taste for life and tried to enjoy every day. They had a loving family, friends, and interesting activities. Looking at Evelyn, who continued her mother's herbalist work, they realized that their life's journey had meaning. Angela never thought of David or the years she had wasted. She didn't even know what had happened to her ex-husband, or if he was even alive. She didn't care. Her life had turned out exactly as it should have, and may she have many more bright years with her family.